Wakaba Hiiro, an ordinary introverted girl who is always picked on by her ugly worthless classmates. Thankfully for Kumoko though, she was reincarnated into another world. Well, if I'm being honest, I'm not sure if thankfully is the word. When Kumoko was reincarnated, she was reincarnated as a spider, and not just any spider, a big powerful spider who has some magic skills. So basically, she's just a regular spider in Australia. But hey, on the bright side, at least she's not a frickin' vending machine. The morning of a typical day at Classroom 2, where boredom usually reigns supreme, a sudden burst of blinding light shattered the monotony, vaporizing the classroom in an instant. As the world faded into darkness, Kumoko awoke to a startling realization. She had been reincarnated as a spider. This was a full-blown nightmare. The realization that she was reincarnated as a spider instead of a wealthy sleepy princess makes her want to off herself. Not to mention that the other spiders in the place seem to have a cannibalism kink as they feed on their own species. But she considers herself a little lucky, considering P. Diddy can't get to her there. Kumoko's hopes for a peaceful spider life were crushed when she witnessed her so-called mother spider going full Hannibal Lecter on her own offspring. Talk about a dysfunctional family dynamic. With survival instincts kicking into high gear, Kumoko made a daring escape from the spider nursery, determined to carve out her own corner in this arachnid apocalypse. When she reaches a relatively safe place, she sits down to think about how she died in the first place. She thinks of all the cliché isekai game plots that could align with her story but can't come to a conclusion. Suddenly, she hears a voice telling her that she has 100 points to spend. Without thinking for a second, she uses those points on appraisal skill since it is an essential skill in all the isekai light novels she has read. However, appraisal san doesn't seem to be of much help because it's still on level 1 like your life. Kumoko was a gamer in her previous life, so she knows that more stuff will be unlocked as she levels up. On using appraisal on herself, she finds out that she's a worthless unnamed spider, which is not really a surprise considering her luck. She decides to move on and explore the dungeon further, but it screams danger. She spots some human footsteps, which gives her some kind of hope. But her hopes are crushed when she sees a slaughtered spider that look like my ex at the end of those footsteps. Retreating quietly, she accidentally discovers that she can make webbing like normal spiders. She transports to Cloud 9 on this discovery and makes a house for herself so she can continue living her shut-in life like the lone loser she was in her past life. She did nothing except play games like a failure like yourself.
I hope to God you're adopted.
Huh?
So this new life as a spider might not be too bad. However, she soon realizes that she hasn't eaten anything, and when push comes to shove, she's forced to eat the nasty dead spider near her. It tastes like crap, but at least it fills her stomach, which I'm pretty sure is her family member, so that may be incest. Also, she earns the title of kin eater along with some other new skills. However, she has no idea how to use the magic skills she just attained. While goofing around like a maniac, she notices that something has been caught in her web, which turns out to be Drake. Finding out Kumoko was just born, Drake attempts to vomit poison onto her, which somehow raises her resistance skill. Pissed off by the sudden attack, Kumoko runs towards Drake while dodging all venomous attacks with her high speed and bites it in the back, telling him to stop pre-ordering folks. Her venomous fangs instantly eliminate the prey, earning her first official W. She does her regular clown dance after the victory, mentally preparing herself for more battles. While Kumoko is fighting for her life, her previous life classmates are enjoying the reincarnated life as princes and high-ranked nobles. One of her classmates, Shun, is reincarnated as a prince of the country, Schlain Zagan Annihilate, and one is the duke's daughter, Keisha. To complicate matters, the class teacher is reborn as a lowly elf. Chill down, my fellow viewers, she would never talk to you in real life.
Leave me alone!
However, one of them, named Faye, suffered the same fate as our Kumoko and was reincarnated as a little dragon. They're all at the welcome party commencing their new academic year. Shun's sister in this world, Sue, is a creepy, obsessive girl with a brother complex who can't see her brother interacting with other girls. The sensei, who is now a student, even suspects that there's something sus going on between the siblings. She then introduces her students to two nobles who were their classmates in their previous lives. The boy, Natsume, is now the crown prince of the Rinksand Empire, and Haspe is a VIP from the kingdom of Elias. It is revealed that Keisha used to be a boy named Ushima in her past life. Natsume makes fun of her and Faye for being reborn as a different gender and species. The students wonder if there are more people who are reincarnated as monsters. Oka-chan, the teacher, has taken 11 students under her care, but Faye is the only one who has become a monster. The group then heads towards the dinner table to eat those mouth-watering dishes served on it. Meanwhile, our poor Kumoko has to eat disgusting frogs to get by. In her previous life, the spider was named Wakaba, and she used to get bullied by a girl daily. Now, that bully is the one inside Faye's body. Shun and Faye are sitting in the class when the cocky wretch Natsume, who is now called Hugo, approaches them. He refers to Shun as Little Prince, and Shun responds that Hugo is a more proper prince than himself, who's just fourth in line of the crown. Hugo laughs and brags about him being the perfect fit for a crown prince. He believes he is one of the chosen ones. Speaking of chosen ones, he asks Shun about his older brother, who is famous as the hero. Shun lights up instantly on hearing about his brother and boasts about his strength and bravery. It is one of his dreams to become the strongest like his brother. Hugo doesn't like seeing Shun being passionate about his dream, so he leaves the place after bidding a bitter goodbye. The talk about chosen ones makes Faye depressed because, unlike others, she is not even a human. She believes this is her punishment for bullying Wakaba in the old days. Oka-chan enters the class, and Faye asks her if she has found Wakaba yet. Sensei replies that she doesn't know her whereabouts but comforts Faye, saying that she must be alright, not knowing that the girl is fighting ugly frogs as we speak. After defeating the frog, she levels up to level 2 of small lesser pterodactyl species and sheds her current skin for a new one. She gets back to her home sweet home to rest after leveling up. But soon enough, something else gets caught in her web, and it's none other than a human. The human lights the web on fire and escapes, leaving a huge egg behind. Seeing that her house isn't as safe as she thought, she enters full Bob the Builder mode and builds a new house with a useless faucet and a TV. She makes a comfortable bed too, but her fat stomach starts growling as soon as she lies down. She makes her way to the egg which an American was trying to steal, probably thinking it was oil inside the egg, excited to see the delicacy waiting inside. But the thing doesn't crack no matter how much she tries. Her appraisal skill gets a level up, and she sees that the egg is a small dragon egg. Realizing that the egg is useless to her, she returns to her house and starts playing. However, she only gets a few moments of peace before her newly made house is burned to the crisp. A good number of Americans appear, invading her nest, thinking it was made of oil, and she starts running for her life. She manages to reach a safe place, but the fact that running is her only chance of survival irritates her. She lived a worthless life without friends and even parents, and now she finally made a home for herself, which also turned to dust. She may even sound like yourself.
What more do you want from me?
Thinking about her pathetic and worthless life gives her a boost to fight back. But after a few days of grinding to level up, she realizes that she is indeed weak and worthless. Her appraisal has leveled up more and outright calls her weak to her face. After coming across a swarm of ugly cockroaches, she discovers that she can actually run pretty fast, which will be beneficial in the future. She sleeps thinking about her abilities and wakes up to a big-ass snake staring at her. She thinks of running for her life, but Kumoko's spirit overtakes her, and she decides to fight back. She uses her web to slow the beast down and takes a few hits in the way. However, she manages to latch onto its neck with her venomous teeth, ultimately earning her the win. Her stats shoot up after defeating the strong monster, and she gets a choice between evolving into a small or lesser pterodactyl. After using her peanut-sized brain to think of a better option, she decides to go with a small pterodactyl. Shun shows Faye drawings of evolved dragons and advises her to aim for a cool and tough-looking one if she's going to evolve. Faye doesn't really want to look cool and bold, but since she has been assigned this awful fate, she might as well become strong. Shun then mentions hearing about an earth dragon appearing in the neighborhood and causing havoc recently, which saddens Faye because she doesn't want her species to hurt people. Kumoko wakes up after evolution but doesn't look any different from before. Her species name changes to small pterodactyl, and her stamina goes back to 0. To restore stamina, she ends up eating the nasty flesh of the dead snake. She licks the snake down to the bone and lays down like a fat pig, but all that doesn't even fill 80% of her stomach. She used to be a petite little girl with a small appetite, but now even a fat snake can't satisfy her. The evolution gives her abilities of thread control and detection. Kumoko happily accepts the skills in hopes of becoming the new age Spider-Man. The detection skill gives her a severe headache, so she turns it off to hunt for prey with her thread control. Hunting boosts her appraisal to level 6, now she can read her stats fully. She gets complacent with her abilities and starts walking around like she's the boss of the dungeon till some humans appear, and she's forced to run for her life as always. She realizes that her abilities are useless in front of humans who are far stronger and faster than her. Thankfully, some monsters appear in the way, and she uses them as a decoy to escape. But she ends up falling off a cliff. Although, what Kumoko doesn't know is if she went head-to-head against the Americans, she would win. Back in the academy, the class gets ready for some combat training. Hugo has developed a one-sided beef with Shun and thinks of the combat class as a way to show off. Meanwhile, all Sue cares about is how casually Keisha puts her arm around her brother's shoulders, triggering her brother complex instincts. Hugo shows off his ugly sword on the practice ground, thinking everyone will be impressed by it, but no one spares him a glance. Shun finally comes out of the emotionless, oblivious character trope and gets pissed at the other guy's antics. Keisha stops him from reacting as everyone is watching. The practice begins, begins, and all students take a wand intended to release water magic to hit the assigned target. Most of the students are absolute garbage at using water magic. Shun is one of the few ones to actually hit the target. Faye gets frustrated seeing them because she wants to use her earth magic too but isn't getting any opportunity. Sue, however, despite having the opportunity to practice magic, would rather ogle creepily at her brother practicing instead of doing something. Meanwhile, poor Haste keeps shooting attacks mindlessly in hopes that one will land. Hugo thinks that practicing magic one is not naturally good at is useless, so he throws aside his wand and uses his fire magic to burn down the target. He gets fouled by the teacher for being a cocky show-off. Suddenly, the students hear the voice of something approaching fast. The teacher tries to save them before something could happen to the students, but he gets burned down to a crisp in the process. The monster appears to be an earth dragon, and Hugo's blockheaded ass can only think about this being another opportunity for a show-off. However, he gets his ass crisp breezied after a single swing by the beast. Shun thinks it's over for everyone there, but thinking about his brother motivates him to fight back. All his friends, including Sue, decide to fight the monster together. They all try combo attacks, but the thing that truly makes the difference is Faye's bite. She bites the dragon at a crucial moment, allowing Shun to cut its head off completely. The whole class cheers at Shun's victory except for one bitter guy. Faye seems a little down too and asks Shun to use appraisal on her. She has earned the title of Kin Eater, confirming that the dragon was actually her mother. Right then, Shun falls to the ground, feeling sick. Guess even if another world, she's still a bully in some ways or another. Meanwhile, Kumoko dumbass falls off a cliff and sadly catches herself by webs. However, some huge bees appear in her way. Right after finding a landing, she comes face to face with 3 snakes like the one from before. She quietly retreats, leaving the bees to deal with snakes. Right then, the final boss, a dragon-looking creature, appears and finishes off the bees and snakes. Kumoko tries to flee out of there as soon as possible, but the dragon spots her. By some miracle of God, the dragon ends up ignoring her and passes by right beside her. The spider thanks the heavens for saving her and runs in search of a safe place instantly. However, this place is filled with brutal monsters way out of her league. Despite vowing never to back down just a while ago, she's now sneaking around the place so that she doesn't become someone's food. She manages her hunger by preying on the same old, weak frogs because the bigger monsters are too much for her. She finds some snails loitering around and tries them for a change of pace, but just one bite takes her to heaven. It tastes like McDonald's fries left out and put in the microwave for weeks before mixing it with spoiled milk. However, she's an honorable member of society who doesn't like to waste food, so she finishes the meal even if it almost kills her. After days and days of searching, she finds some decent ranked monsters to prey on and fills her stomach to her heart's content. Her poisonous abilities level up because of the monsters and she explores several available skill options. The only thing that works for her is a skill named Weak Poison, which releases a small amount of poison. The girl is happy with that because at least she has gained a new ability. She gets increasingly scared as she travels further down the dungeon because the place is too big and mighty. In her previous life, all she did was sit in front of a TV and never touched grass. But right now, she's exploring a huge supernatural dungeon. Right then, a weird, yeti-looking ugly monkey appears before her. Luckily, she manages to conceal her presence and run away from it, but then comes face to face with a regular-looking CGI monkey. The ugly creature attacks her without a second thought, barely giving Kumoko time to react. However, using her little brain, she manages to bind the dumb monkey. When she bites it to kill it, it screams like a woman during childbirth. The scream scares her, but she digs into her meal and licks it down to the bone anyway. She finds a place to rest after that, not knowing that the dying scream summoned a whole army of monkeys after her. She wakes up from her sleep to the army beneath her screeching and throwing rocks at her. Knowing that she can't deal with the whole mob, she tries to make an exit. But somehow, the rocks are too slippery for her to climb. She spreads a net around her so she can move sideways. The monkeys start climbing towards her, so she starts dropping poison on them. However, they outrageously outnumber her, so her little plans go in vain. One of them even reaches her and rips one of her legs off. Thankfully, she levels up right when her turf is invaded, restoring her strength. This time, she drops the whole wall of monkeys on the ones below, taking some of them out. However, 3 edgy-looking yetis who are evolved versions of the regular monkeys have appeared now. She fights them simultaneously, leveling up as she defeats them. One of them catches her off guard and bites off half of her body. Being half dead, she still manages to poison the remaining one and levels up just in the nick of time, which saves her life. She starts crying tears of happiness as she stands over the horde of ugly dead monkeys that wanted to try her. To think that she would come so far in such a short time. She gets the option of evolving because she has reached level 10. But she leaves it for later. She spots a path heading upwards and thinks that it's the way toward the middle stratum, which will most probably be far less dangerous. But since her luck can only give her a few moments of peace before disaster, she's met with a lava-filled place at the end of the path.
私ってばかなり運悪い。神様に嫌われているとしか思えないくらい。
Kumoko's web catches fire as soon as she lands on the ground of the middle stratum. It's bustling with scary monsters who are fire resistant. She almost gets a fire lit under her ass, literally. A monster spots her and starts attacking her with fire breath. Her threat is useless in this place, so she has no chance but to get the hell out of there. Now, she's back to being a ninja in the lower stratum. She finally checks the evolution option and decides to evolve into a small poison pterodactyl. Her stats go crazy after the evolution, and she gets the choice to attain a new skill. There are a bunch of skills, but a skill named Pride catches her eye, and she decides to go for it. The description says that it can boost her overall experience and proficiency. Although pride is a deadly sin, she can't help but be intrigued by the skill. When she attains the skill, her taboo skill goes to level 4, which is something that shouldn't be leveled up. However, Kumoko doesn't care about that and only focuses on the other cool-sounding abilities that come with pride. She starts lifting weightless weights right away in hopes of getting stronger so she can get to the middle or upper stratum. Back on Shun's side, Faye has evolved into the size half of a human. Shun is impressed with her stats and feels like she can become the strongest when she reaches the highest level of evolution because she has human intelligence along with a beast's brute strength. She has already surpassed Shun and his older brother in stats. The duo goes to class, and everyone fangirls over the new hero, aside from Hugo, who shoots daggers at him with eyes. Sue gets uncomfortably close to her brother while professing her fascination with his heroism. Then, Haspe appears and starts blabbering about bowing to God. She asks Shun to tell her if he ever finds someone with a taboo skill, as anyone who does something taboo deserves to be eliminated. Faye starts sweating buckets on hearing that because she's a kin eater and has that skill. She believes that Haspe has some screws loose in the head, which is why she is acting paranoid. The teacher arrives and begins the class about magic. Meanwhile, our protagonist is daydreaming about being a magical girl because she doesn't know how to use magic in actual life. She thinks of ways to utilize her skills to learn magic but can't come up with a single way. All that thinking tires her 2 brain cells, so she goes on a hunt, only to be greeted by the strongest earth dragon she has ever encountered. She bolts out of there like lightning and ends up at the lava place again. The same seahorse from before appears and starts shooting fire attacks at her. She dodges the attacks easily with her insane speed, and the monster loses all his magic after a while. He gets out of magma to deal with Kumoko personally, but she pounds on him first and kills him with her venomous fangs. She doesn't get to eat his nasty meat, though, because 2 giant catfishes that can swallow anything with their big mouths corner her. She thinks she's dead meat, but an idea lights up in her mind and she throws her extra toxic venom in one catfish's mouth, which eliminates it instantly. The other catfish chickens out and leave. The spider feasts on the meal in front of her, which tastes better than any monster she has ever tasted. She makes it her mission to hunt for more catfish, no matter how strong they are, just for their exquisite taste. Meanwhile, Shun's older brother, Julius, arrives at the entrance of the middle stratum of the labyrinth. The monsters in the upper stratum are no problem for Julius' party. After clearing the way, they move on to the middle stratum because their target, a big spider, resides there. Meanwhile, our nameless MC is looking for more catfishes to feast on in the middle stratum. She's ready to risk it all for their taste again, but she comes across a super strong eel instead that has her beat in every domain except speed. She now has foresight, which allows her to read the opponent's moves, so she uses it to dodge the incredibly fast attacks of the enemy. However, the eel doesn't seem to lose magic power as fast as the seahorse, so she has to keep running around for a while before she can do anything else. Thankfully, the eel comes up to the ground to fight, which gives the spider a little advantage. She shoots her toxic poison in its mouth, which knocks it out. But before she can celebrate her win, the eel gets up again. This time, Kumoko mindlessly throws venom at it, which finally finishes it off. She gets to level 10 of her current species and gets the choice of evolving again. She sets the evolution aside to celebrate her victory against a brutal enemy. At this point, she thinks she can even beat Goku. Getting evolved right now seems like a bad idea because evolution takes time, and this place is not safe enough to rest. But she decides to use the eel's corpse as a shield and evolve anyway. The evolution option she gets is Zoa-Ale, which is a small spider monster. All the abilities coming with it also sound super edgy, so she goes for it. She makes a shelter using the eel, which looks like a pile of poop, and gets inside. When she comes out, she's looking sharp and edgy. She devours the eel in an instant and checks her new stats. An option called the heresy effect shows up, and she utilizes it to get rid of headaches during detection. She gets an epiphany as soon as she utilizes the skill and even gets to talk to her conscience. This time, the boost in her abilities is greater than ever and she feels on top of the world. On Julius' side, his party sits down for some quick rest, and one man comments on Julius' expertise in using magic along with his incredible sword skills. The saint of the party, Yana, gets a little jealous because it's her job to provide magical support for the group. Their conversation gets interrupted by 3 ugly giant pterodactyls and the group gets ready to fight immediately. Their target, the Nightmare's Vestige, which is a sexy looking spider, also makes an appearance. Julius bodies the big fat spiders almost almost immediately, but the white spider is proven to be the problem for everyone. It moves like a flash, dodging every attack coming its way. Julius uses a move called Light Field, which spreads high-intensity light all around the area. That light engulfs the spider and finally manages to injure it. After the attack, the spider stops moving and seems to be cowering in fear of something. Julius takes the chance and finishes it off with a concentrated attack. But he can't stop wondering what the spider was fearing. Somewhere in the world, the Demon Lord, standing on a balcony of her castle, talks about dealing with someone who got a little too ahead of themselves. Back in the academy, Shun brags about Julius' achievements to girls and the girls fawn over the capable siblings. Bitter and miserable Hugo's fragile masculine ego takes another hit, and he breaks off a window's glass in anger. He can't bear to see Shun thriving in the world that is supposed to be his. Kumoko had an intriguing dilemma on her hands. She possessed 8 eyes and the chance to unlock a remarkable ability known as the Evil Eye. However, to her astonishment, there were various versions of this ability to choose from. After some contemplation, Kumoko decided to start with the cursed Evil Eye and leave the others for later exploration. This decision startled her inner self, but they agreed on this initial choice. Eager to test her newfound power, Kumoko activated her detection ability to search for nearby monsters. In no time, she stumbled upon an evolved frog and swiftly defeated it with a single attack, causing her appraisal ability to max out. This thrilling development left Kumoko brimming with excitement. Meanwhile, Julius and his party were seated nearby, discussing the existence of other reincarnations besides their group. They learned that there were a total of 26 students in their classroom who had reincarnated. However, 6 of them were currently missing. Yana informed the group that 4 of these missing individuals were confirmed dead, while the other 3 were alive but remained elusive, shrouded in secrecy. A heated argument ensued between Yana and Keisha, but Shun intervened to defuse the tension. Yana cautioned Keisha against honing her skills, believing them to be perilous, and requested her trust. Following this discussion, all the human reincarnations ventured into the forest for a combined camping and training session, with the exception of Hugo Bain von Ranksan, who had other priorities. During the off-campus trip, the vindictive prince ordered his subordinates to bring powerful monsters in a bid to sow chaos and possibly eliminate the beloved Schlain Zagan Analate. Just as the attack began, Oka-sensei intervened and put Hugo in his place. To make matters worse for Hugo, Oka-sensei managed to confiscate his skills and statuses. Back to Kumoko, who had maxed out her vision enhancement skill. This led to the unexpected acquisition of a new skill called telescopic vision. Initially, Kumoko was hesitant about the skill, but after using it, she grew enamored with its capabilities. Furthermore, her skill Zoa leveled up to level 3, and her other skills began to show signs of improvement. However, when Kumoko's detection skill reached its maximum level, she did not gain any new skills, which struck her as peculiar. Her puzzlement deepened when she mysteriously acquired a new skill, courtesy of someone named Admin D. This fabricated ability, known as Wisdom, not only boosted her statistics but also opened up exciting new possibilities. It seemed that Kumoko had acquired an enigmatic admirer, which left her deeply unsettled, as it hinted at someone manipulating events within the game. The scene then shifted back to Hugo, who nursed his resentment towards Yana for what she had done to him. Suddenly, a female figure approached Hugo and inquired if he needed assistance, revealing that she too was a reincarnation, just like him. Yuri and Shida engaged in a conversation with Shun concerning Hugo, who had been conspicuously absent from class since the recent incident. Faye expressed the belief that Hugo's punishment was still inadequate considering his past actions. In a flashback, the memories of the students before their reincarnation were revealed. They were seen enjoying a spirited game of football, with their teacher, Miss Oka, overseeing their playtime. After the match, Shun ventured to fetch some drinks. During his return, he encountered Wakaba Hiiro, who was being subjected to harassment by her classmates simply for reading a book during playtime. Upon Shun's arrival, the tormentors swiftly dispersed. Shun kindly returned Wakaba's book and rejoined his friends with the drinks. Returning to the present, Shun found himself pondering how his fellow students were faring since their reincarnation. 11 of them resided in an elvish village, 6 attended the same school as Shun, 4 had tragically lost their lives, and the whereabouts of the remaining 2 students remained a closely guarded secret known only to Oka-chan. Oka-chan joined the group, prompting Shida to inquire about the 2 concealed students. Shun, curious about Kayuya's well-being, asked if he was among the living. Oka-chan confirmed that Kayuya was doing well but couldn't provide further details, offering her apologies for the limited information. The scene transitioned to Kumoko, who was gleefully dancing and reveling in her newfound powers. She showed little concern for her classmates and resolved to pursue her own agenda. Kumoko's recent skill, Wisdom, bestowed her with astonishing enhancements in various attributes, including advanced magical abilities. The prospect of using magic excited her, though she recognized that mastery would require time and practice. Amidst the internal bickering between her two consciousnesses, one controlling her body and the other responsible for information, a new entity emerged, taking charge of her magical abilities. Inside the Great Elro Labyrinth's middle layer, Kumoko encountered a diverse array of flame-wielding creatures, many of which were formidable adversaries. To her surprise, she stumbled upon a group of vanquished monsters, with a single injured survivor, an imposing fire dragon. Considering the level and attributes, Kumoko appeared outmatched. Moreover, the dragon was directing its fury at her. However, something had nearly vanquished the dragon previously, presenting an unexpected opportunity. Empowered by her newly appointed magical consciousness and another emerging parallel consciousness, Kumoko decided to stand her ground and engage in battle. She unleashed a powerful attack, the Deadly Spider Poison Ultra Mega Mega Max, enhancing it further with poison magic courtesy of her body-brain skill. As the poison ball hurtled toward the dragon, it swiftly recognized the impending danger and retaliated with a burst of searing flames. Kumoko was astounded by the dragon's lightning-fast instincts and its ability to discern imminent threats. Shun hurriedly made his way to the room where he was set to meet Julius, a reunion long awaited. Hyrance, who had accompanied Julius, greeted Shun warmly, marveling at how much he had grown. Julius Zagan Analate, the current holder of the hero title, eventually returned home and reunited with his siblings, Shlain and Sue. Aware of the looming threats and uncertainties, Julius entrusted Shun with the care of his younger sister, Sue, as he was uncertain when he would return. Their reunion was brief, as the hero and his allies were urgently summoned to the Empire due to a new, ominous threat, demons on the move. An inevitable clash between humans and demons seemed imminent, and Julius was needed at the front lines. In their brief encounter, Julius noticed Faye and expressed his gratitude for her role in saving Shun. He went on to share an intriguing story from the past, involving Faerun, a student who had been reincarnated as an earth dragon and was currently Shlain's companion. Julius revealed that the scarf he wore, made from pterodactyl silk, had a shared origin with Faerun. 15 years ago, a particular pterodactyl spider home had been ravaged by fire in a dungeon, leading to the discovery of an egg. This connection added a layer of intrigue to their encounter. After their conversation, Julius and Hyrance set out on their mission toward the Empire. Julius confided in Shun about his dream, a peaceful world where people could live happily, before departing. The scene shifted to Kumoko, who found herself under attack from the fiery dragon. In the past, Kumoko had heavily relied on poison-based attacks, which had proven effective. However, with her newfound levels and abilities, she had diversified her combat tactics. Heresy magic, particularly Phantasm, proved to be a valuable asset, alongside corrosive attacks using her sickle-like hands. Her abyss magic, aptly named Hellgate, displayed immense power. All these tactics were made possible by Kumoko's multiple wills, with two now dedicated to handling her magical abilities. Kumoko received an unexpected visit from a mysterious individual who materialized seemingly out of thin air, utilizing teleportation magic. This enigmatic figure spoke a different language as a native of this world. Alongside this newcomer, Admin D, the entity responsible for bestowing the wisdom skill upon Kumoko, made contact in an unexpected manner. Kumoko inquired about Admin D's intentions, leading to the revelation that she was the most malevolent deity in the world, deriving amusement from watching people endure suffering. Kumoko pressed further, questioning whether Admin D had created this world solely for her entertainment, to which she cryptically responded that she was also an outsider, withholding details to avoid dulling the experience. Meanwhile, in the Empire, a council of demons convened to plan their impending war against the humans. Each unit provided its report to the Demon Lord. Tensions flared as two leaders engaged in a heated argument that escalated to physical confrontation. The Demon Lord intervened swiftly, employing spider webs to restrain the quarreling demons, prompting apologies.
あんまりくだらないことばっかりやってると禁煙魔法使っちゃうよ
After receiving reports from all the units, the Demon Lord instructed them to prepare for the upcoming war. Subsequently, a mysterious figure approached and conversed with the Demon Lord. The scene shifted to Hyrance, who expressed concern to Julius about the strange behavior exhibited by the demons, suggesting that something significant was on the horizon. Finally, back in the classroom, Shun received a startling revelation. He had been bestowed with the hero title. This title traditionally belonged to only one individual at a time and could not be passed on until the previous hero's demise, leaving Shun in a state of shock and uncertainty. Kumoko continued to ponder the mysterious D-girl and her cryptic statements. She engaged in a mental dialogue with her inner selves, attempting to deduce the identity of this enigmatic figure. However, she eventually realized that dwelling on this matter wouldn't be productive and decided to shift her focus towards escaping the middle stratum of the labyrinth. Resolute in her determination, Kumoko disclosed her plan to her inner selves. She intended to invest her points into spatial magic, believing that this skill could prove invaluable in accessing the upper stratum more directly. After some time of trekking through the labyrinth, Kumoko finally stumbled upon the path leading to the upper stratum, and her excitement drove her to rush toward it eagerly. Who was overwhelmed with grief upon learning that Shun had been bestowed with the hero's title, a development that implied Julius's demise. Shun himself was in tears, and Lester approached him, offering comfort through a heartfelt embrace. They discussed the crucial steps that needed to be taken in light of the looming threat posed by demon armies. As they delved deeper into the situation, they received news that the Queen Pterodict was responsible for decimating the human forces stationed at Fort Cusorian. Ronnet, renowned as the greatest human mage, valiantly defended his fortress against the advancing demon army. He vividly recalled a fateful encounter with a formidable Pterodict 15 years prior, a memory that resurfaced in light of recent events. A scouting party was dispatched to the Great Elro Labyrinth to investigate an unusual occurrence. Monsters were fleeing from the area. During their exploration, they came across a Pterodict's intricate webbed home and decided to incinerate the sticky threads. This action provoked the ire of Azoa, a Pterodict of staggering power and an astonishing array of skills, including the coveted wisdom skill. The humans found themselves hopelessly outmatched by this monstrous arachnid. Ronnet formulated a hypothesis that connected the nightmare of the labyrinth to the ongoing attacks by the demon armies. A skirmish ensued between Kumoko and some humans, resulting in her accumulating enough experience to undergo an evolution into an Edsane, often described as the symbol of death. Despite her reluctance, Kumoko accepted this evolution, causing her taboo level to max out, a development she had hoped to avoid. A tremendous burden suddenly weighed upon Schlane's shoulders, demanding that he become stronger at the earliest opportunity. By his side stood Faye, the human reincarnated into an earth dragon. They made a momentous decision to forge a contract, resulting in an intriguing transformation. Faye assumed the form of an egg, commencing her evolution. The circumstances surrounding the death of Julius became clear as Hyrance, a member of the previous hero's party, returned home and shared the truth. It was revealed that a phoenix feather had played a crucial role in Hyrance's survival, resembling yet another video game-like aspect of this mysterious world. Instead of succumbing to despair, Schlane found renewed motivation and aspired to carry on his older brother's dream of creating a peaceful world. Kumoko's transformation from Azoa to an Edsane brought about striking markings on her body, accompanied by a wealth of knowledge due to her maxed out taboo level. This newfound fountain of knowledge overwhelmed her, requiring time to sift through its vast contents. However, Kumoko managed to glean enough information to grasp the peril facing the current world. As this unassuming spider, she felt a burgeoning desire to take action and change the world's fate. But before she could embark on that quest, she recognized the pressing need to become stronger. Kumoko set her sights on a formidable adversary that had initially traumatized her, the Earth Dragon Araba. Despite her lingering fear underscored by her parallel wills, she approached this powerful dragon with renewed determination. After some diligent training and strategic planning, the clever spider orchestrated a battlefield that played to her advantage. Observing her swiftly dispatch the bothersome wasps was akin to revisiting the early stages of a video game when a character is already overwhelmingly powerful. In Kumoko's initial encounter with the fearsome Earth Dragon Araba, she had barely escaped with her life. To the dragon, it seemed as though the tiny Pterodict was hardly worth its attention. However, circumstances had shifted dramatically, compelling the Earth Dragon to acknowledge the astonishing power of the spider heroine. While Kumoko's attacks did not inflict substantial damage, Araba took the confrontation seriously. What unfolded was a clash between Kumoko's meticulous patience and strategic planning against Araba's sheer brute force, a showdown that turned into a monstrously gory spectacle, particularly for the Pterodict. Kumoko faced an uphill battle against the overwhelming might of the dragon, leading her to pull out all the stops and employ every conceivable tactic at her disposal. In response, Araba expended all his accumulated skill points in a desperate bid to overcome the indomitable spider. The relentless exchange of blows between the two combatants was a sight to behold, as neither was willing to yield or hold anything back. It was a pure one-on-one duel, devoid of any deus ex machina or external interventions, a straight-up brawl where victory depended solely on their skills and determination. The ultimate outcome of the battle held little surprise, but the concluding monologue added a touch of emotion to the intense confrontation. Now, with the battle behind her, Kumoko's focus shifted to a new goal, finding the exit. She had recently crossed paths with some humans during a skirmish, marking them in the process. Naturally, those who survived their encounter with the relentless spider made a desperate bid for the exit. Kumoko, however, had her sights set on a different objective, the opportunity to witness the sun for the first time. After a harrowing struggle, Kumoko managed to escape from the treacherous caves unscathed. As she emerged from the cave's mouth and gazed upon the breathtaking beauty of the natural world, her spirit soared with inspiration. However, her moment of awe was short-lived as the humans who spotted her mistook her for a monster and launched an attack. Swiftly evading their onslaught, Kumoko retreated to safety. Outside the cave, she contemplated the possibility of evolving into a human form. Her curiosity led her to discover the existence of a mysterious figure known as the Spider Lady, and she resolved to work towards this transformation. It wasn't long before Kumoko received a message from a system, revealing that her mother possessed the ability to control her. Faced with this revelation, she contemplated returning to the labyrinth. Meanwhile, Shun and Anna embarked on a visit to meet with Hirance. Anna, who had been Hirance's devoted servant since his childhood, accompanied Shun. Hirance extended an invitation for them to dine together, but Shun declined, citing a prior meeting with the clan leader of the elves. Shun and Anna proceeded to their meeting with Potamus, the clan leader of the elves. During the meeting, mages disclosed that the elves were aware of the ongoing conflict between humans and demons. Philimos Heraipnes revealed her efforts to mediate and prevent the escalation of the conflict, albeit unsuccessfully. Siles suggested that Shlain, their new warrior, be sent into battle to help resolve the situation. However, Mages was cautious, opposing the rush to send Shlain into the field. Potamus proposed an alternative strategy involving Devil, a powerful entity with considerable strength. Since Devil's transformation, communication with the demon clan had ceased, and she had formidable subordinates. Potamus emphasized the challenges of dealing with those who became warriors, as they would be closely associated with the religion of God words. He cautioned against revealing too much to Dustin, the pontiff of the religion of God words. After Potamus and Philimos Heraipnes departed, Sue approached Keisha, still grieving over the loss of her brother Julius and expressing concern for Shlain. Meanwhile, Hugo sought Keisha's assistance, adding to the growing complexity of their situation. On another front, Kumoko found herself filled with joy as she discovered her transformation into a healthy and mobile baby. However, her elation was short-lived as she observed her mother's enraged subordinates advancing toward her. Among them was an Arch-Pterodactyl, level 31, with abilities comparable to Araba. The Arch-Pterodactyl had 3 greater pterodactyls as formidable companions, along with a host of smaller spiders. A fierce confrontation ensued, with Kumoko retaliating with Diablo bullets. However, the massive pterodactyls proved to be challenging adversaries, each possessing a level 10 deadly venom attack, silk control, and utility abilities. Kumoko realized that facing both the Arch-Pterodactyl and Araba level pterodactyl simultaneously was an insurmountable challenge. In a desperate move, she ensnared them in a web mesh, employing her spatial magic to teleport them into a scorching pool of lava. Following a grueling battle, Kumoko managed to turn the tide in her favor. However, her victory triggered another furious message from her mother. Kumoko discovered a channel connecting her to her mother and decided to defy her orders. She sought the aid of 3 fellow spiders to launch an attack through the channel, determined to stand against her mother's control. John Karen, accompanied by his wife and daughter, was traveling with a growing concern regarding oats and the looming transaction restrictions. The repercussions of this potential move were not limited to allied countries, but also posed a significant threat to oats itself. During their journey, they fell victim to a band of robbers, which caught the attention of Kumoko, who happened to be passing by. Despite witnessing their plight, Kumoko initially chose to stay out of the situation. Marizafis bravely fought against the robbers and sustained injuries during the altercation. Just as the robbers threatened John Karen's vampire daughter, Kumoko intervened, launching an attack that saved the family from harm. As she prepared to leave the scene, Sira's Karen, John's daughter, halted her departure. Kumoko was perplexed when she learned that Nagishi Shuoko's name had been changed to Sophia in this world. It was then revealed that Sophia Karen was also a reincarnation, a revelation that piqued Kumoko's curiosity. However, she couldn't help but feel emotionally insecure about her own appearance compared to the adorable vampire child, prompting her to depart. On her journey, Kumoko encountered a group of elves who were plotting to capture the vampire child alive and eliminate the rest of the travelers. She covertly eavesdropped on their conversation and sensed that the child was in grave danger. Meanwhile, Shlain paid a visit to Mages to discuss matters with Sue. However, their meeting took an unexpected turn when Hugo and his army appeared, ordering Shlain's capture. Shockingly, Shlain discovered that his own brother, Siles, was siding with Hugo in this confrontation. Both Hugo and Siles had their own motives, with Hugo seeking revenge on Siles and Oka, while Siles revealed their father's desire for Shlain to become the next king, which had prompted their collaboration. Sue, too, had been influenced by dark intentions, contemplating the murder of Shlain for the sake of her love. Acha recognized that Sue had been brainwashed and Shlain, consumed by anger, demanded her restoration to her normal state. Sophia entered the scene, and Hugo ordered her to kill Shlain. However, the unexpected arrival of Philimos Heraipnes and Shun and his friends altered the dynamics of the confrontation. Concerned for Shun's safety, they swiftly removed him from the battleground. Later that night, Shun and his group discussed the alarming state of affairs. The announcement of Hugo Baint Ranksant as the new warrior by the church left them bewildered. Philimos Heraifnes suspected that Hugo had manipulated the church's followers. The group concluded that the country was beyond salvation and decided to confront Hugo. Their resolve was tested when they found themselves surrounded, and Shun was stunned to see Keisha among the adversaries. It became evident that Keisha had also been subjected to brainwashing. Fortunately, during a heated battle between Shun and Keisha began to regain consciousness, although she had not fully recovered. In a desperate attempt to prevent herself from harming Shun, she contemplated self-inflicted harm. Touched by her plight, Shun allowed her to regain full consciousness. As tensions mounted, Devil engaged in combat with their teacher, Philimos Heraifnes, while Phi arrived in the form of a flying dragon, swooping in to rescue them from the perilous situation. Kumoko was deep in thought, and her parallel wills had not been in contact with her since they were with her mother. They had managed to sever half a leg from her mother, but the mother spider was too large to venture outside, which was why she had given up on pursuing them. Kumoko speculated that her mother had many subordinates and arch-pterodactyls, and if multiple arch-pterodactyls attacked her body simultaneously, it would be a dire situation. In such a scenario, she planned to escape using her teleportation ability, as victory would be unlikely. Kumoko revealed that her mother had been linked to them since their birth, but monitoring just one family member among her many spiders was challenging. Their extraordinary existence might have made them a target. Her mother had sent enough combat power to make them believe they had no chance of winning and prevent them from escaping. Suddenly, their mother intervened and blocked their communication with their body, seizing the opportunity to launch a full-scale attack on them. As Kumoko and her siblings felt helpless, the person in charge of information hypothesized that their mother couldn't leave her lair. Kumoko sought sustenance, finding fruits to eat, but the ground suddenly began to tremble. Realizing danger, she attempted to flee, but her mother, Queen Pterodact, level 89 and 5 times stronger than Araba, emerged from the ground. Kumoko was shocked and puzzled about how her mother could be outside. Kumoko knew she couldn't defeat her mother and attempted to escape. However, using her wizard skill for defense proved harmful, and she couldn't evade her mother's attack. Just as she was about to be caught, she narrowly escaped, realizing that her mother's speed was astonishingly fast. She decided to seek refuge in her old nest to recover. Suddenly, 2 arch-pterodactyls and many small spiders appeared. Kumoko was horrified to see them, realizing her mother had sent them to kill her. She credited her endurance skill for her survival, as it allowed her MP value to recover automatically. However, she knew she might die if she was severely injured and couldn't recover in time. She made her way to the middle stratum, where she encountered the puppet pterodact, followed by the arch-pterodactyls. Kumoko had lost some of her legs, hindering her mobility, and they prevented her from teleporting. Her only escape route to the middle stratum was blocked by the puppet pterodact. In a desperate situation, she used her wizard skills to fire Diablo bullets, defeating many small pterodactyls. She fell into the puppet pterodact's trap, and her body was about to be crushed. In her dire situation, she could only use her destructive evil eyes and attacked the puppet pterodact, causing it to lose half its face. Kumoko was surprised that it could still move. Fortunately, she managed to recover and defeated the puppet pterodact. Kumoko decided to gather information about her mother but was still unable to contact her parallel wills. She made the resolution to evolve, determined to face the challenges ahead. Kumoko had achieved the incredible skill of immortality through evolution, a skill that people throughout history had sought as the ultimate cheat in their pursuits. A message from D, a mysterious device, enlightened Kumoko about the circumstances of her reincarnation into this world. She learned that she had died in Japan on Earth, and her death was connected to the actions of the previous hero and demon lord, who were masters of dimensional magic. They had created a spell to escape their world's boundaries, but without the system's support, they lost control of the complex transcription. This caused an explosion that reached Japan, hitting Kumoko's classroom. In the classroom, where 25 individuals were caught in the explosion, D collected their souls and granted them skills to survive in the new world. D also provided each of them with a unique skill based on compatibility, ensuring that they became a race suited to their soul's frequency. Kumoko, too, desired to become human. Her growth was rapid compared to the others, who remained in their infantile forms. D revealed that the hero and demon lord had attempted to kill Kumoko because her presence had influenced the classroom, making their magic affect it. There appeared to be a faction that considered the administration their enemy. Meanwhile, Hyrants, Crenatiusari Anibald, Anna, and Schlain Julius's brother sought the help of Goyet Dono, a labyrinth guide who had assisted Julius in the past. They wanted to enter the Great Elro Labyrinth but found that the entrance was already guarded by Imperial soldiers. Despite not having committed any crimes, they were fugitives from the Empire. Goyet apologized for not being able to help, as doing so would endanger his family by attracting the Empire's attention. However, Basketh offered to assist and guide them. Phi arrived in her human form, surprising Shun, as this transformation was the result of her latest skill. It reminded Shun of their previous lives, deaths, and reincarnations. They decided to reach the Great Elro Labyrinth by entering from an entrance at the sea bottom. Basketh warned them about the sea, which was the territory of a water dragon that attacked anything flying or floating. As they began their dive, the sea dragon confronted them, and Shun and Fi prepared to face this formidable foe together. Their ultimate goal was to reach the Great Elro Labyrinth. Ariel was preparing to launch an attack on the elf village with her hordes of spider monsters, fully aware of the high cost it would impose on the elves residing there. For her, this assault was just another routine endeavor. Meanwhile, Shun and his group were navigating the treacherous Great Elro Labyrinth. After 5 hours of battling their way through its depths, Basgath suggested they take a break to avoid succumbing to labyrinth sickness, a form of fatigue common among adventurers who push too hard in the dark labyrinth depths. While they attempted to rest, Shun found himself unable to sleep, and his restlessness disturbed the others. Basgath then shared a chilling story about the Nightmare of the Labyrinth, a legendary class monster that had suddenly appeared over 10 years ago. This creature was as dangerous as the most powerful Queen Terracits, and was believed to be the result of certain monsters not dying when they should have. Shun learned that having bad dreams was considered a sign that the nightmare might appear. Basgath, however, did not buy into the prevailing theory and considered the nightmare a living calamity. He had seen the creature himself and believed it could even heal the wounded at times. The only undeniable fact about the nightmare was its immense strength. Shun questioned what one should do in a situation where many lives hung in the balance and escape was not an option. Basgath emphasized that running away was not shameful, and one should run from something they couldn't defeat. He advised Shun to tell anyone who questioned his desire to live to fight instead, as it was crucial to focus on what one wanted to accomplish. Despite this, Shun acknowledged that he couldn't run from his responsibilities as a hero. The group continued their journey in the morning, discussing the various dangers of the labyrinth, including monsters on par with dragons and treacherous spider webs. As they approached a shorter route, Basgath sensed danger. They were suddenly attacked by a powerful earth dragon with incredible speed. Their magic attacks were ineffective due to the dragon's imperial scale's skill and formidable defenses. However, Shun and the girls devised a plan to immobilize the dragon with a holy beam of light, ultimately bringing it down and allowing Shun to acquire the Little Dragon Slayer title and new skills. As they recovered, they sensed the presence of others and realized they were fellow reincarnations, albeit weaker ones. They heard a foreboding voice proclaiming that everyone would die but to try and survive. Later, as Shun slept, he experienced another strange dream, something that had become increasingly common since entering the labyrinth. They encountered a large hole, created by the Queen Terracits, and ventured through it to reach the continent of Kasanagara. Their journey led them to the evil village, where Shun's immortality skill and HP auto recovery proved invaluable, even allowing for the regrowth of his body. Kumoko dedicated herself to regenerating her lost head, working diligently until her level was back to its original state. She felt an immense happiness, as if she had floated far away from her previous despair. Seeking sustenance in Clairvoyance Town, she reminded herself that she was, after all, a spider. While in town, she stumbled upon a vampire child who was being targeted by numerous individuals. Back with Basgath and his group, they returned safely and were surprised to have been rescued by a monster they believed to be a mythical beast sent by the goddess to protect them.
What did he say?
In the evening, Nagishi Shuoko, formerly known as Sophia, reminisced about her childhood memories in Japan and her sudden reincarnation into the daughter of a noble family in a foreign land. She cherished the love and care of her new family, which contrasted with her confusion and unease upon her arrival in this world. However, Sophia was content with her life, unaware of the political tensions brewing in the background. The conflicts between Oats, the Ranksand Empire, and the Holy Kingdom of Elias were fueled by religious disputes, particularly regarding the goddess religion and the religion of God words. Sophia remained oblivious to these matters. During a journey with her parents, their cart was attacked by a mysterious group, but Kumoko intervened to save them, albeit without revealing herself to them. Master Potamus monitored Kumoko's actions, recognizing the existence of reincarnations and hoping to keep this knowledge hidden from Ariel and other potential adversaries. He strategized around Karen County, but his worst-case scenario involved facing both Ariel and Dustin simultaneously. As the morning arrived, Kumoko prepared to confront the robbers who had attacked the vampire child. She observed them praying before turning on each other, ready to take action to protect the innocent. Kumoko, the spider monster, found herself in a dire situation, surrounded by complex thoughts. Her parallel wills had been out of contact since they were with her mother, and she had recently lost half of one of her legs. Her mother, a massive spider, was too large to venture outside, which was why she decided to give up on pursuing Kumoko's group. However, Kumoko and her parallel wills believed that her mother had other subordinates and had intentionally refrained from ordering them to attack Kumoko's body. Amidst a mythical beast event filled with cheerfulness and happiness, Shun and his friends ventured further into the labyrinth of mysteries. They were exploring a teleport formation that guarded the EIF village with a powerful barrier, ensuring that no one could enter without it. However, their journey took an unexpected turn as they were ambushed by a strange group within the teleport. Fortunately, Philimos Heraifnes intervened and revealed that they were all reincarnations, comrades of the true warrior and allies of the Imperial Army. The unexpected appearance of Potamus surprised everyone, as they believed he was dead. Potamus claimed that there were many ways to meet death, but he had managed to evade it. He then welcomed Shun and his friends to the elf village with a grand banquet. With the Imperial Army numbering around 80,000, they were engaged in a battle against the Demon Clan with limited forces. This imbalance could lead to the Demon Clan taking advantage of their situation, especially after Hugo had been exposed as a fake warrior, which strengthened their alliance with the Empire. As Shun and his friends enjoyed their meal, they discussed their suspicions about Potamus, knowing that he might not be as trustworthy as he appeared. The following day, they drew closer to the elf village, which was enveloped in a protective barrier, shielding it from harm. They reached the area guarded by reincarnations, who were wary of humans entering their village. However, they were eventually allowed passage. Inside the elf village, Shun's group reunited with Kyufo Sachai, a former student of Philimos Heraifnes. The joyous reunion was somewhat marred by Philimos Heraifnes' decision not to accompany them, leaving them curious and concerned about her intentions. Despite initial relief at being welcomed by the elves, Shun and his friends began to feel uneasy about their situation and the potential hidden agendas of the elves. As they explored the village, they learned about the troubled history of some of the reincarnations, including Natsume and Haste, who had suffered greatly due to their parents' actions. They also discovered that the teacher, Philimos Heraifnes, had played a role in their confinement rather than true protection. Growing increasingly suspicious of the elves and their teacher, Shun questioned them about Sasajima Kaiouya, but received no information. With most of the reincarnations accounted for, Shun wondered about Kaiouya's whereabouts and activities. Meanwhile, in another part of the world, Sophia pondered the term mythical beast and her father's negotiations with foreign powers. She felt uneasy about her father's visitor, Potamus, and suspected that something was amiss. Potamus praised her beauty and revealed that a spider was a guardian sent by Ariel, the elf clan leader. Back in the labyrinth, Kumoko encountered a girl approaching her, which filled her with dread. In a surprising turn of events, she discovered her mother, Queen Pterodict, at the bottom stratum of the Great Elro Labyrinth. Her mother's condition had weakened, with ability values reduced by 70%. Kumoko was relieved by her mother's condition, believing it to be a sign of weakness. However, as Kumoko descended to the bottom stratum and confronted her mother, she realized that her mother had trapped her. Queen Pterodict began to attack Kumoko, who was unable to use her magic. Regretting underestimating her mother, Kumoko decided to inherit her willpower and prove herself as a strong adversary. She tapped into her newfound power, increasing her abilities, and engaged in a fierce battle with her mother. With the support of her friends, Kumoko was determined to defeat her mother once and for all. Shun and his group encountered Kishitani Asaka and Kagawa Kunayako, the individuals known for defeating one of the demon clan's commanders alongside two strong allies. Together, they embarked on a mission to survey the barrier guarding the elf village. As they reached the border, Kagawa tested the barrier's strength using his magical sword and found it to be incredibly resilient, earning the elves' pride for its robustness. Shun contemplated whether Natsume possessed the capability to breach the barrier. Carnatia proposed the idea of disabling the teleport formation to enter the village, as the Imperial Army, led by Hugo, aimed to suppress the elves. She emphasized that the elves would never surrender to someone like Hugo, who had the ability to manipulate minds. Carnatia suggested temporarily shutting down the teleport formation to hinder the Imperial Army's advance. Returning to their strategy session, they encountered their teacher, Philimos Heraifnes, who divulged a crucial revelation. She disclosed that all of them were reincarnations with memories of another world and an array of skills since birth. These conditions granted Shun and herself extraordinary powers, skills, and knowledge they didn't possess in their original world. The world they hailed from, though not entirely peaceful, was relatively stable, devoid of demons and monsters. However, someone had intentionally brought them to this world. Philimos Heraifnes informed them about the existence of a being called the God Admin, a deity targeting reincarnations from other worlds, intending to seize their powers. The elves, guided by an ancient legend, protected the reincarnations to prevent them from being killed by the admins and having their powers taken. Some, like Kishitani Asaka, were skeptical of this explanation, but Philimos Heraifnes argued that Hugo had been manipulated and was not responsible for the recent turmoil. She cited Sophia Karen, formerly Nagishi Shuoko, as evidence of the admin's involvement. Troubled by the prospect of her students turning against each other, Philimo's Heraifnes hoped to avoid such a tragic outcome. Shun and his group then began formulating a strategy, acknowledging that the massive protective barrier around the elf village was challenging to overcome. Their plan involved defending the teleport formation, as the elves were unlikely to assist them. They also considered the possibility that two missing reincarnations, Kasuma and Kayouya, might be aligned with Hugo's forces. Determined to survive, Shun and his friends prepared for the impending battle. When the day of the final battle arrived, they heard a strange voice, which led them to discover Kasuma on the enemy's side. A confrontation ensued, during which Shun attempted to attack Kasuma. However, Kasuma deployed a magical sword that detonated like a bomb, forcing Shun and his friends to flee. Kasuma's objective was to trap them within the barrier. As the battle raged on between the two nations, a report conveyed the devastating news that Kengo Natsume had perished in the Battle of the Elf Forests. A war of catastrophic proportions was raging, marked by powerful explosions and a gruesome downpour of blood. Sariella commanded an army of 42,000, while the Oats Alliance brought 53,000 soldiers into the conflict. Kumoko recognized that her powers were insufficient to stop the world from collapsing, compelling her to upgrade her level. Amidst the chaos, in the Great Elro Labyrinth, Kumoko received a message from her friend about Devil engaging in a fierce battle with a formidable earth dragon. Despite being injured, Devil offered the dragon a chance to escape. But the dragon chose to stand his ground, determined to persevere. They clashed in a fierce confrontation, but ultimately Devil emerged victorious and decided to consume the Earth Dragon's body. As Devil began to feast on her fallen opponent, Ghoulie arrived, intervening to prevent her from eating the dragon. Ghoulie revealed more about her side and her connection to Admin D, who had invited her from her original world. It was now Kumoko's turn to level up her experience. Joining the war on Sariella's side, Kumoko participated actively and saw her level increase. However, a sudden teleportation brought Devil to the battlefield, leaving Kumoko in shock.
お楽しみの最中にごめんね。一回死んでもらうわ。
Devil initiated an attack against Kumoko, creating a barrier that nullified teleportation and magic, rendering Kumoko helpless. Kumoko used her low-resistance light magic to retaliate. The speed of her rebirth and level upgrade was astonishing. Devil closed in on her with immense power, terrifying Kumoko. Lacking a strategy, Kumoko decided to flee. She had peeled away so much of her being that it caused her pain, but she managed to obtain her experience level, which allowed her to consider leveling up and recovering.
わざと外した。いや、さすがにそれは嘘だ。
In the midst of this battle, Kumoko was surprised to see Shun standing before her with his magical sword. Devil, strangely, did not attack Shun despite the fact that she could easily defeat him. Confused, Kumoko secretly activated her wisdom and discovered that Shun possessed a hidden title that enabled him to defeat Devil in an instant. This hidden ability was her only advantage against Devil. However, Devil then unleashed her abyss magic, launching a devastating attack on Kumoko. To Kumoko's horror, her immortality powers failed to protect her. As she teetered on the brink of death, Shun's friends arrived, and a battle between Shun and Hugo, who had increased his ability values with warfare and divinity magic, began in the midst of the ongoing war. Devil, determined to confront Potamus, readied herself to decapitate him. Potamus' subordinate informed him of another army lurking behind the Imperial army. Although Potamus was already aware of the situation, he took action and ordered his forces to prepare for war. In the midst of the battle between Shun and Hugo, it became apparent that Hugo, despite his imposing demeanor, could not land a blow on Shun. Their differences in character and approach were stark. Shun's defensive abilities, boosted by his recent acquisition of dragon power, made him nearly impervious to Hugo's attacks. As their battle raged on, Hugo was taken aback by Shun's formidable prowess and wondered how it was possible, considering he believed the world belonged to him. Shun reminded him that the world belonged to the people who inhabited it, not any single individual. Hugo, frustrated and desperate, ordered Sophia to kill Shun. However, Shun discovered Sophia's affiliation with the Demon Legion, which had orchestrated the attack on the elf village. The Demon Legion had used the Imperial army as bait to confuse their enemies, with the ultimate goal of invading the elf village. Sophia had manipulated Hugo for this purpose, and Shun resolved to defeat her. The battle between Shun and Sophia commenced. Sophia possessed the same dragon power as Shun, along with a more potent magic nullification skill. Shun's friends decided to join the fray to aid him. Lasaka and Shum set out to take down Marizafes, while the others faced off against Sophia. Sophia displayed immense strength, effortlessly splitting the teacher's arrow in two with a mere touch of her finger. Sophia informed them that her primary objective was not to kill reincarnations, but to target the elves. Shun revealed that it was the White, the one who had killed Julius' brother. As the battle intensified, Shun struggled to overcome Sophia's magic nullification skill, even though he attempted to strike rapidly with a large sword. Sophia explained that as long as Shun used magic to manipulate original materials like soil, her skill could nullify it. Shun and his friends realized that neither swords nor magic could defeat Sophia. Fai suggested surrendering, but Sophia understood that Shun's pride would prevent him from giving up. While Shun refused to back down, Kyoya, one of his classmates and a friend from their previous world, arrived at the scene. Kyoya had become Wrath, the commander of the 8th Demon Army. Just as the situation seemed dire, a substantial force arrived to support Shun's group and urged him to retreat to the village while they dealt with Sophia. They called upon the Lord Warrior and deployed Gloria units to confront her. Kumoko, who was facing a formidable foe in the battle against Devil, utilized her unique abilities to create inferior copies of herself and transfer her parallel wills to them. This tactical move allowed her to save herself from Devil's abyss magic. Additionally, Kumoko's ability to reincarnate from an egg she had laid earlier rendered the tension in the opening of the battle insignificant. In another part of the conflict, when the Gloria units attacked Sophia, Kyoya used his magic shield to protect their group. Despite their efforts, Shun's attacks were fruitless, and he was ultimately struck down by Kyoya, falling into Anna's arms. Anna's death greatly affected Shun, and he appeared to undergo a transformation in his mindset. Kumoko continued her transformation process, evolving from a spider monster into a cute monster girl who resembled her appearance in her previous life. As she contemplated the well-being of the vampire child, she expressed hope that the child would be safe. Amidst the chaos of the war, the village was engulfed in flames, as most of its inhabitants had been sent to the battlefield. A young elf was found in the room with the vampire child. The situation in the village was dire, prompting Master to consider the need for evacuation. However, there were few options for escape, and he entrusted his daughter, little Sophia, to Mera's office, viewing him as the most reliable person in this dire moment. With a heavy heart, he apologized to his daughter for his perceived inadequacy and expressed his desire to witness her growth. He promised to protect her with his life. As Mera's office attempted to flee with the child, they were ambushed and attacked. In a desperate bid to save Sophia, Mera's office fought back against their assailants despite being riddled with arrows. During this struggle, Mera's office obtained the level 1 family domination skill. He continued to fight against their attackers, refusing to abandon Sophia. Potamus arrived on the scene and confronted Mera's office, ordering his men to kill the young vampire girl and falsely report her death in the war, deeming her a potential threat to the world. Mera's office, however, stood firm in his promise to protect Sophia, even at the cost of his own life. Potamus began to employ teleportation magic against Mera's office when Wakaba, the monster girl, arrived unexpectedly. She unleashed her evil eye abilities, surprising both Mera's office and Potamus. After Wakaba healed Mera's office with her powers, Potamus found himself facing a formidable opponent he had not anticipated. Wakaba activated an anti-magic barrier to nullify Potamus' magic, skills, and ability values, rendering him vulnerable. She realized that she could still utilize her internal skills, allowing her to counterattack. As the battle raged on, Wakaba successfully struck back at Potamus. Potamus used his Terminator skills against her, trapping her. However, Wakaba's resilience became evident when she survived a decapitation attack due to her multiple heads. Potamus realized the danger she posed and decided to eliminate her, fearing the potential threat she might pose in the future. Wakaba activated her evil eyes, targeting Potamus, but before she could unleash their full power, an explosion occurred, and Ariel, the devil, arrived on the scene. Wakaba and Potamus were both surprised by her presence. Ariel, not having nothing else in mind besides talking to Wakaba, easily destroys Potamus with one blow. Realizing the futility of the outcome, Wakaba knew if she fought her again, she would be screwed. Thankfully though, Ariel suggested they cease fighting and be on friendly terms. Considering her abyss magic didn't finish her off, she kinda ran out of moves that would kill her. At the base, Potamus emerges from a pod, surrounded by numerous replicas of himself, unveiling his true identity and the true threat. Meanwhile, on their journey back, Ariel contemplates the possibility of forging alliances with former foes and resolves to vanquish Potamus, the looming menace to the world. Just as they encounter Mera's office, now transformed into a vampire, he chooses to align himself with the team comprised of the Divine Beast and Demon King. In the end, the monster girl found herself in a life free from threats to her existence, as the conflict came to a halt with Devil's intervention. That concludes the anime recap. As always, if you enjoyed, let me know down below and I'm out.